Finally, we're at the end of my positional rankings for the 2022 NFL Draft. We're going to put the tight ends and the wide receivers all in one, so I'm going to try to speed through the tight ends so we can get to the wide receivers, because I know you want to see the wide receivers. But we're going to do a top 10 for each. What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo. Just in case you did not know, so go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave that thumbs up if you enjoy the content. That's the next slide. If you enjoy the content, and as always, let me know what you think in the comments section below. Before we get into top 10 tight ends, let's mention Cincinnati's Josh Whyle. I had him listed as a returner, but over the last 3 weeks, he's kind of turned it on. He's been utilized more in the offense. So, quite frankly, he would have made the list if I didn't think he was going to return. Or if So, I don't know. What can I say? Chris Jericho, you just made the list. But who did make the list? Number 10, Charlie Kolar, out of Iowa State, baby. This guy is your prototypical tight end 2 in the NFL. His combination of ball skills and his ability as a blocker makes him peel in for that role as a tight end 2. While he could get stronger as a blocker, overall play strength needs to just get stronger. As you can tell, even in as a route runner, he gets thrown off his routes by more physical receivers. And on top of that, he's not that great of an athlete anyway, so it's not like he's a separator either. But he's a very good route runner. Very good route runner. He's lined up about as much in the slot as he has in line. He's a very natural route runner, one of the largest catch radiuses in this tight end class. He does a good job at the contested catch point. He's over 50% in terms of contested catches over his career. Only 5 drops on 150 targets. So, yeah, this cat, I got him listed as a 6. I see him as this mid-day 3 guy. And honestly, the guy at number 9, I kind of flip-flop with. I got Trey Berry out of Boston College. He's a former Jackson State transfer. But again, him and Kolar, man, they're probably going to rotate in and out here between 9 and 10 for me. And even I got a couple other guys like Cameron Latu out of Alabama, Derek Deese out of San Jose State that I think it could test him. Even Brant Kuthi out of Utah, who's an interesting prospect. I think he's a guy that'll end up getting drafted too. But Barry, he's a plus athlete, very long, big catch radius, soft hands, displays very good body control when attacking the ball in air. Really could fill out his frame to be a more dependable blocker. He's kind of like Hunter Long light at this point. At number 8, Cade Otton out of Washington. I'm not going to lie to y'all, I'm just not a big fan of him. He's a very good blocker. He finishes plays and seals up the edge very well in pass protection, and he's got some good ball skills. He's 8 of 15 over his career as a contested catcher. He's shown that he could make guys not necessarily miss, but he could break tackles. He's got 5 broken tackles on the season. He's a solid route runner, but just lacks high-end speed. There's no real explosiveness to him. He's not a separator. He doesn't really explode at the top of routes. He's really just a chain mover. His biggest gain of the year was a 25-yarder. And honestly, as a contested catcher, I kind of worry about him because against Michigan, against a more physical type of defense, he really struggled with the contested catch. 1 of 5. Granted, his quarterback play has not been that good. But yeah, he's just not my flavor of tight end, man. It's just not me. Cole Turner, though, he's a little bit more my style out of Nevada. Good athlete, great catch radius, runs a solid route tree there in Nevada, and attacks the middle of the field very effectively. Whether it's seams, hitches, stuff like that. He has very solid hands. 33 contested catches through his career, only 8 drops on 171 targets. He lines up all over the place, wide, slot, in line. However, in line, he lines up the least, only 15% of the time, 15% of his snaps have come in line. He's a very willing blocker. He's got actually really good grip strength when he engages in somebody. He really doesn't let go, but definitely a guy that needs more bulk and more nastiness to his game. Get up to maybe that 250, 255 range for me to just kind of feel better about him there. James Mitchell at number 6. Unfortunately, James Mitchell, he banged up his knee week 1 versus, was it week 1? Well, technically, I think it was like week 2. Well, no, because we have week 0 in college football. Week 1 against North Carolina. He tried to play through the knee injury against Middle Tennessee and couldn't. Ended up getting surgery on it, ended his season. Really sucks. This guy, I had him in my 2021 rankings as a 4th rounder. I'm going to keep him there because I really like this cat. He is a dog as a run defender. Like super willing blocker, kind of an understatement. This guy's kind of relentless. He has one of the biggest tanks of this tight end class. Like this guy, his motor is hot. It's a hot. I don't know why I did that. But he also he's like a big play threat. He has some good speed. He creates really good separation. I love his body control. He creates really good windows for the quarterback to throw in. He's very physical at the contested catch point, 7 of 14 in 2020. And since 2019, he has turned 31% of his targets into 15-plus yard gains. Like I said, big play threat. I like James Mitchell. Not enough people are talking about him. And I think a lot of that's because of the injury. Number 5, Jalen Wydermyer. Not a lot of y'all are going to like this. I'm just not that high on Wydermyer after this season. Like, he isn't flashy as a receiver, doesn't explode out of routes. Like, I was kind of like he's a better athlete than Cade Otton, but he's kind of like similar in that vein to, he's just not my style of tight end, man. He, again, doesn't explode at the top of routes, doesn't explode out of his breaks. He's never going to blow the top off of a defense. His longest reception over the last 2 seasons was a 34-yarder. But the guy's a chain mover. The guy's going to be a good red zone target, big catch radius. But drops have been an issue this year. He has 8 drops on the season. While coming into this year, he only had 4 over the past 2. So I don't know if this is an isolated incident or is this maybe something that we should worry about. But he's a 50-50 ball type of guy, the contested catch, 20 of 43 over his career. It's very hard to actually bring down after the catch. A very physical ball carrier, 21 forced missed tackles on 118 catches. I like the physicality during the route. I wish he would bring that same type of mentality as a blocker because he just really struggles to keep engaged on defenders as a run blocker. And I have a problem with that. Doesn't mean he can't change that, but I know a lot of people are going to have him closer to like probably around like the 60 range overall. For me, he's probably going to be more of this 80 to 90 range. It's just, he's not my cup of tea when it comes to tight end. And because we live in a passing league, so I'm not going to lie, I love receiving tight ends. It's just like with linebackers. I love coverage linebackers. It's just me. That's just who I am. And I'm not going to be anyone else. I don't care. Greg Dulcich, speaking of receiving tight ends, coming in here at number 4. Big fan. He's a bit of a tweener, but this guy, he's a former walk-on. And he's put on 30 pounds since arriving there at UCLA, and the dude hasn't lost a bit of the speed he had coming in. Great straight line speed. If you go back to 2020, only Kyle Pitts was a more deadly downfield target at the tight end position. Keep in mind, this guy tore up college football in 2020. Just go to the UCLA game back in USC game back in 2020. Just he had a field day. Speaking of this year, mismatch nightmare. He had big games against Arizona State, big game against LSU. He's shown a bit more nuance as a route runner this year, but there have been more drops this season. I think a lot of that is focus drops. You could go to the Hawaii game where he had, I think, a couple of drops where he was looking upfield before he actually secured the football. So again, focus drops, I'm not too worried about. It's not a ball skills thing. This guy's got good ball skills. So there is that. Half of his yards have come after the catch. 7 forced missed tackles on the year. Go to the LSU game, dude. Dude broke it off. I loved it. Blocking, though, that's going to be a big question mark. Go to the Oregon game because it's an ugly game for pass blocking for Dulcich because UCLA's stupid. I don't know what Chip Kelly was doing, but he was like, hey, I don't want Sean Ryan, who had a good game against Kayvon Thibodeau in 2020. I don't want him taking on Kayvon Thibodeau too much this time around. So you're going to take him on one-on-one. Guess how that went? Probably as you thought. He got dominated by Kayvon Thibodeau, which isn't fair. But I think if you get an offense where you could put the tight end in motion a ton, like a Kyle Shanahan, a Sean McVay type of offense is going to be super beneficial for him. I love this guy as a receiver. This guy's great. At number 3, I got Jeremy Ruckert out of Ohio State. A lot of this is upside. I'm going to say that now. This guy's got the size and the strength. He's a very good blocker there for Ohio State. Super good blocker. And I bet you that's going to carry on into the NFL. He's an above average athlete who really deserves more volume in the passing game. As we saw what happens when he got more volume in 2020. Like he did nothing for their first 6 games. And then during the playoffs, that 2-game stretch, he doubled his production for the season. Like it's ridiculous. Honestly, I think this guy could be tight end 1 with like a crazy strong off-season draft process, because the guy's got the frame. He's a plus athlete. His blocking ability, it's near the top of this class. He's going to be a very tempting prospect. Then number 2, this is like 1A, 1B. Trey McBride is number 2. Quite frankly, could be number 1 in this class. But the guy I got number 1, I just like his receiving chops a bit better. And we'll kind of get into it. Honestly, it's like whatever you're looking for between these two guys, just take it. Like, they're really close to me. McBride, he might be the best all-around tight end in this class. For a man his size, he actually has some really good vertical speed. He runs a very complete route tree. Very physical and powerful blocker. And he carries that as a ball carrier, dude. After the catch, this guy's a battering ram. He's just a hammer looking for someone to nail. Mean stiff arm this guy got. Literally, hammer, nail, bam, to the ground. I love it. Doesn't get a lot of separation on his routes. That's why I list route running as a weakness while he runs a complete route tree. He doesn't get a lot of separation, but he uses that big frame to really box out defenders. He's 28 of 51 on contested catches through his career. Only 6 drops through his career. This guy is wonderful, but my number 1 is Isaiah Likely. Again, I'm a sucker for receiving tight ends. We're in a passing league. So yeah, Likely, he's kind of a jumbo receiver. I think he's going to need to put on weight to be a better blocker. He's not really utilized much as a blocker at Coastal Carolina in that kind of gimmicky offense. But when they do utilize him, a lot of it is in motion. But this dude's been great. At the contested catch through his career, 26 of 44. But he really makes his money after the catch. 26 forced missed tackles on 126 receptions. Mismatch nightmare. If you man this cat up with a linebacker or safety, good chance they might get burnt. Like, he has 4 receptions over the last 2 seasons that have gone for 60-plus yards. He has a 99-yard reception to his name. Again, going to need add a bit more bulk if he's going to remain in line, I think, in the NFL. Or at least if he's going to be taken seriously as a run blocker. But he's kind of like Kyle Pitts light. That's why I list him as a midday 2 guy and not like a top 5 prospect in this class. But let's go ahead and get to what you were here for. Wide receivers, let's talk about guys I have listed as returners. Joshua Moore, I think this cat out of Texas has a lot of upside and probably likely to return. I got 2 Clemson receivers listed here. Joseph Nagata, I think, has a lot more upside than his teammate there. Frank Ladson Jr., who really kind of got lost in the shuffle, and that Clemson offense has been terrible, so these guys really haven't had time to shine. But more so, Nagata, I think, has a lot more upside than Ladson. I got Jadon Hasselwood, who I think could be a first-rounder. This cat is good, but he just hasn't seen the ball like a ton this year. Like, he's seen it a good amount when he when he has been thrown to, he's been really good. Dominic Blaylock out of Georgia. That's right. I put a J. Supposed to be a K. Typos, they happen. I'm sorry. I'm only human, but he hasn't been healthy. He's still recovering from an ACL, so he's not coming out. Taj Harris out of Syracuse. He entered the transfer portal. I'm very interested to see where this guy ends up. He needs to add some bulk to his frame. He's like 165, but this guy's amazing after the catch. Watch out for him. Joshua Cephas out of UTSA. He mainly plays a slot, but this dude's really good. His brother, Quintez Cephas, playing in the NFL, playing for the Lions right now. This cat's real good. And then Trey Knox is a guy out of Arkansas who he just felt like some guy in 2020. I feel like he's been a much better this year, but I'm still left wanting more from him. So we'll see. Maybe after Treylon Burks leaves, then he can really shine. But let's go ahead and get to the list. I need to switch over to my wide receiver notes. Number 10, Romeo Doubs out of Nevada. He's this year, in my opinion, he's this year's De'Ami Brown. He's not going to, he runs a brilliant vertical route tree, but he can be utilized as a very good intermediate threat. He's not a jump ball guy despite his big catch radius, and he's only 28 of 68 on contested catches. But most of the time, this guy's just burning guys off the line. One of the best releases in this class. He's good at stacking receivers or corners vertically. But I like what he can do after the catch as well. 12 forced missed tackles in 2020, 10 this year. The dude is good. Drops, it's kind of weird because he's got a good drop rate, 5.8. Typically, you want your receivers to be under 10%. He's at 5.8. That's miraculous. But he has a lot of easy drops on film, which it's like, okay, is this maybe a ball skills thing? But again, his drop rate is actually really good. So it could be a big nothing sandwich, but I like him a lot. At number 9, I got Jalen Tolbert out of Southern Alabama. He's been dominating so-so competition the last 2 seasons. Probably going to need a strong off-season draft process to really elevate his grade or his stock. But he's got a huge catch radius, great body control. He's doing it with terrible quarterback play. He's got Jake Bentley, for goodness sake, back there at quarterback this year. And if you ain't new to the channel, you know Jake Bentley is not a good quarterback. But in 2020, he was 12 of 15 on targets 10 plus yards or more that were deemed inaccurate or uncatchable. Pretty freaking good, man. Pretty good. He's not an elite separator, but he's very physical during his routing and provides very good windows for the quarterbacks to throw into. They just miss it. I think he could add a bit more bulk, get to 200. He's at 6'3", so I'd like to see him at 200, but he's shown no problems of getting off the line. He's got good acceleration. Like I said, stacks corners, good body control. I think he does a very good job of manipulating the windows for his quarterback. Limited route tree. It's a very simplistic route tree there at South Alabama, where it's really just slant, screen, vert. But he has some. He does a good job on like underneath routes of finding soft spots in zone. I like what he can do after the catch. 13 forced missed tackles this year. On to number 8, David Bell, baby. I know y'all gonna say, hey, he deserves to be higher. I don't disagree. I just think what keeps him as a day 2 guy is he's not an elite separator. That's what's really gonna hurt him. Speed and separation are going to be a big concern, and I think that's going to cement him as a day 2 prospect despite the ridiculous production he puts up. Now, don't get me wrong, man. This cat, he's very shifty on his routes, and he's very physical through his routes. He's got great body control. He's great at attacking the ball in air. I mean, I talk about that physicality and that shiftiness. He destroyed Iowa's Matt Hankins in their matchup. And what's so good about him, is what he does outside of at the catch point is what he does after the catch. He leads the nation in forced missed tackles with 25. Ridiculous for a receiver. This is a guy, if you get it to him underneath on like a shallow route, like a shallow like drag, like he can take it for an extra 20 yards. The guy is just super good. He's going to be very productive. I don't know if he's more than a wide receiver 2 though, but I like this cat a lot. Limited route tree there at Purdue. It was something similar with Rondale Moore, where it's like you're really just looking at like slant screens and goes. But the dude is really good. Don't get me wrong, having him at 8, it's not because I don't like him. It's just I understand the weaknesses, and it's kind of significant. George Pickens at number 7, man. We're gonna have a hard time trying to figure out where Pickens goes. He might come back for the playoffs, but he's still dealing with the ACL. So injuries, is that going to be a thing? We'll find out. But dude's got that prototypical X wide receiver size. He's a fierce competitor. You see that most at the catch point. He's a big jump ball guy, 14 of 32 on jump balls. He's got an average depth of target, 15 yards. Insane. I love how easily he gets off the line of scrimmage. I love how physical he is throughout the route. It has gotten him in trouble. 11 penalties from 2019 to 2020. But I'd rather teach a physical receiver to be less physical during the route or less handsy than vice versa. So I'm cool with that. He doesn't do too much after the catch, only 7 forced missed tackles. But this guy's a chain mover / I can beat you deep real easy. So I like him a lot. At number 6, Jahan Dotson, borderline first rounder, man. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, man. I came into the year thinking this guy was KJ Hamler, who I wasn't necessarily in love with. He's a lot better than KJ Hamler. Like, he may not have the desired like size or length, but his ability to separate and create big plays more than makes up for it, man. The biggest question was, is he just a slot guy? But a majority of his snaps have come on the outside. This guy can win against press. This guy can win on the outside. I like that. On contested, like, he's got some real bunnies, man. He's got some hops. He's competitive at the contested catch point. 15 to 34. While it's like, that's not great. It's around that 40% range, but that's pretty good for a guy his size. At any moment can tear the top off of a defense. I love the start-stop ability. I love the explosiveness at the top of routes, at the breaks in routes. He just makes them really tough to follow. This is a guy that I'm really starting to get behind. And then at number 5, Drake London. I hate this. He's only here because of the broken ankle, but he could move back up if everything checks out well. He broke his ankle early in November, and he had surgery like very, very recently after the injury. So typical timetable is 6 to 10 weeks for that. So he should be there in time for the combine. And if he runs in the 4.5s, then dude, that's gonna be great. Because like on film, like he's not fast, but as long as he's not like 4.6, I think he's gonna be totally okay. He's a former 4-star recruit. And he primarily worked out of the slot from 2019 to 2020. This year, he took his talents to the outside and was a monster. Honestly, was probably one of the best wide receiver in football until the broken ankle. Should be challenging for best wide receiver in the nation award, but unfortunately, again, the injury. But dude has seen volume since moving to the outside. He's 19 to 28 on contested catches. That's ridiculous. This guy wins at the catch point consistently. I love it. Forced missed tackles, 22. We just talked about how David Bell, he leads the nation with 25. Drake London would have been the leader if he didn't get hurt, man. Insane. On passes of 20 yards or more, he has 15 receptions for over 450 yards and a touchdown. 6 of those were jump balls. Like, this guy that's shown he can win vertically if he has to. He's drawn comparisons from other scouts and evaluators to Brandon Marshall. So I love that, dude. I'd be willing to take a shot on London in the first round. And then Treylon Burks coming in here at number 4, quite frankly, could end up being my wide receiver 2 just because of his physical traits. The combination of speed, size, and explosiveness is insane. It's just going to be tough to deal with in the NFL. If he goes to the combine and tests out like guys like Chase Claypool and DK Metcalf, he's going to be like a top 15 pick. Just because even though these guys like these, they don't have the most nuance when it comes to their route tree and route running, they're just so tough to deal with because of those physical traits. So he could, quite frankly, be wide receiver 2 when it's all said and done. Now, primarily he works out of the slot, which you get a lot of free releases off the slot. I had that problem with Justin Jefferson. You might be like, well, look at Justin Jefferson. He's been doing just fine. Justin Jefferson also had a very complete route tree coming into the draft. You can't say the same about Burks, man. Burks, he's basically screen, slant, deep ball in this Arkansas offense. Almost 700 snaps in the slot with only over 150 outside, but he's got prototypical X wide receiver size. I don't think winning on the outside is going to be a problem. 14 forced missed tackles, wonderful. 7-16 at the catch point, strong hands. Big fan of Burks. Don't be surprised if he ends as wide receiver 2 when it's all said and done. Jameson Williams coming in here at number 3. Quite frankly, he might end up overtaking Chris Olave as the best deep threat in this class in terms of the burners, man. Because Williams is stupid fast. Former transfer from Ohio State. He's a very polished route runner in that regard. Ohio State receivers, they're just really good route runners. I love this dude's stop and start ability. The dude's extremely explosive. He has been so deadly. Just go to the Arkansas game, man. He tore the top off of Arkansas. Go to the Miami game. You could go back to the stream we did where it was like, all right, man, it's like they're at the 4-yard line and it's like third and 6 or something, and he just tears the top off of Miami for a 96-yard touchdown. It's just ridiculous. I wasn't surprised. I'm a Hurricanes fan. I know they're bad. But with his frame, I think he does need to add some mass to it, because he only has 9 forced missed tackles on the year, with 4 of it coming in the Arkansas game. So almost half of his missed tackles came in one game. So, there's I think a precedent that he's a better prospect than Olave just because he's better after, he's better in terms of forced missed tackles. So I think he could definitely overtake Olave, who is my number 2 receiver in this class. Again, polished route runner. He's got rockets strapped to his feet, though. Very deadly. Since 2019, he's had a step or more of separation on 87% of his targets. Ridiculous. The ball skills are very good. 4.9% drop rate. Just ridiculous. His type of game will translate very well to the NFL. He's a big play threat waiting to happen. He's very good as a vertical route runner, but don't be fooled. This guy, he can run any route you ask him to. He does a good job of keeping clean off the line of scrimmage. Very good release, and he does a good job of fluctuating his speed throughout the route. He's very good at switching gears. I love it. The biggest thing I don't like about him is his ability after the catch. He only had 5 forced missed tackles in 2020. He only has 2 this year. Add in some mass to that frame, a little bit of bulk, I think will go a long way. And then number 1, Garrett Wilson. I think by far he's going to be my wide receiver 1. I love Garrett Wilson in this draft class. Former 5-star recruit, probably the best route runner in this class. I love his explosiveness, his suddenness at the top of breaks. It's among the best in this class. He's very good after the catch. He's been very good throughout his career, but he's taken it to another level. He has 19 forced missed tackles on the season. Coming into the year, I was like, he can be more physical at the catch point, and he has been that this year. 8 of 13 on contested catches. Drops were a scary thing to begin the year. First 2 games, he had 4 drops. And I was like, what's going on? Drops were never an issue with him. And since then, he only has 2 drops on the season. So maybe this is just an isolated incident in those first 2 games. Great prospect. I list him at top 20. I'm only going to go top 15 with Garrett Wilson. He's that darn good. He's my top wide receiver. Let me know what you think, though, in the comment section below. Who should have been included in this list? There's a lot of good prospects in this wide receiver class. This was initially assumed to be a much weaker class just because the last 2 classes have been bonkers, but this is actually a pretty good class when I think it's all said and done. I think it's going to be a good wide receiver class. But until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.